Good evening, everyone. This is the regular meeting of the Southfield City Council, May 20th, 6 p.m. at the council chambers. Madam Clerk, can I please have a roll?
Yes, sir. Council President Mandelbaum.
Present.
Council Pro Tem Banks.
Present.
Councilman Brightwell. Councilman Cruz. Councilwoman Haynes.
Present.
Councilwoman Hogue.
Here.
Council President, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Did you forgot Mr. Hicks again, or?
Oh, Councilman Hicks.
Here.
So sorry.
All right, if you can
Council
please
President, you have
rise for the
quorum.
Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up, we have an appointment.
We have Ms. Gilliam who's been appointed to the Commission on Senior Adults. Ms. Gilliam, will you please come down, please?
We need a vote. Council?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that council appoint Ms. Gilliam to the Commission on Senior Adults. Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Banks, supported by Councilman Haynes, to approve the appointment of Ms. Gilliam to the Commission on Senior Adults with the term as presented in our packet. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And while we're doing that, I want to just put in a plug here for the boards and commission. All the citizens here who might be interested in boards and commissions, you can look on page 5 in our calendar. They'll list all the boards and commissions. It's page 5 of the calendar. And you can obviously go online and go to the city clerk's website and look on the neighborhoods and look on the government, and you will see that we have boards and commissions. You can apply online. And also, the boards and commissions, we have started reaching out to houses of worship. And in July, we will be visiting New Hope Missionary Baptist Church. Last year we visited another house of worship, and we got quite a few applicants. So if you're interested in the boards and commission visiting your house of worship, just feel free to contact me here at City Hall, and we can obviously arrange a visit there. What we will do is do a a show and tell kind of presentation at your house of worship, which will indicate in person what we are doing to make sure that our boards are fulfilled. And just as a last point, boards and commissions here in the city of Southfield, they are integral parts of the city government. And we have several members on council who came to council by way of our boards and commissions. I myself, I was the chair of the Southfield Veterans Commission for about 10 years, and I was asked to run for office because I was so integrally involved with getting things done here in the city of Southfield. So there is a reason for being on boards. There are reasons for supporting your city, the governing of the city, and also you will get some very valuable knowledge of the operation of the city and also the networking within the city. So I thank the council for appointing Ms. Gilliam. She's a very valuable candidate, and she's a very eager candidate. Thank you.
Next, we have communications. The Southfield City Council has established the following rules of procedure for all speakers. No speaker may make personal or impertinent attacks upon any officer, employee, or city council member or other elected official that is unrelated to the manner in which the officer, employee, or city council member or other elected official performs his or her duties. No person shall use abusive or threatening language towards any individual when addressing the city council. Any person who violates this section shall be directed by the presiding officer to be orderly and silent. If a person addressing the council refuses to become silent when so directed, such person may be deemed by the presiding officer to have committed a breach of the peace by disrupting and impeding the orderly conduct of the public meeting of the city council and may be ordered by the presiding officer to leave the meeting. If the person refuses to leave as directed, the presiding officer may direct any law enforcement officer who is present to escort the violator from the meeting. The council may not provide responses to public comment during the meeting. If you have provided your contact information when you signed up for public communications, the city will provide a more formal response to you in the near future. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. Our first speaker is Marcy Turner. Is Marcy Turner here? Harmon Gunther.
Harmon Gunther, 19101 Green Spruce, Southfield, Michigan. On Sunday, May 5th, there was an article in the Detroit News written by Bill Lateness that was very derogatory according to the court system that we have. The following Monday, I got up here, and according to the article, they said that several members of the court were taking extravagant trips out of state for judicial education. In the meantime, I attended the council budget meeting concerning the judges. There I learned that the state mandates a lot of the activities that are not reimbursed to the city, like the maintenance of the court building. If anything goes wrong there, it's up to the city to correct it. I also learned that I had started to go there to stop you from spending money on the court and to fix the fencing along 12 Mile. So which is needed. So I figured that, that money would be better used for public works. In the meantime, I found out that the salary paid to the judges is mainly paid by the state. And also I learned that a lot of the money that fines that is charged by the courts reverts back to the city. So I was under the impression that the Detroit Free Press would be an honorable paper, that this writer who had known what he was talking about, and obviously I was wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to remind everyone to please silence your cell phones or turn them off. And if you need to make a call, to please step out in the hallway. Our next speaker is Garland McWilliams.
Good afternoon. Name is Garland McWilliams. I live at 15641 Pennsylvania Street. My main concern here, and I was here a few weeks ago, and I brought the concern about the roads that need repair on Mount Vernon and Pierce and the connecting neighborhoods. There are areas where we got chunks of cement coming up out the pavement. There's no patchwork, and the patchwork that has been done in the past, in my opinion, is wasting money instead of repairing it properly. Repair, the roadway. I was notified that we don't get our proper share of Act 51. I guess that was supposed to repair the roads and everything. But here's the thing. How often do you council members travel this area? I know some do and some don't, but I travel it every day. My neighbors travel it, often enough and everything. And it's bad. It's horrible. Mount Vernon between Greenfield and Northwestern Highway, and there's other neighborhoods adjacent to that are getting, some repairs. And I went to the engineering office, and I got a current and upcoming road projects, and they showed 2023, 2024, 25, down to 26. And in my area, which includes Mount Vernon and Pierce, has future projects. What does that mean? I can see the scenario where a chunk of concrete jumps up off the pavement there and hits somebody, hit somebody's car, hit a person, and then we got a big lawsuit on our hands, But I believe, I don't know who or what determines the area of roads to be replaced, but, I see a priority with that area. And, we say we don't have the money, but I tell you, there's a will. If there's a will, there's a way to get it done. Whether we can get some help from Oakland County, the state of Michigan, or the U.S. government. Somebody has some money for us. We pay taxes, and, I feel it should be done. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zorn, you want to comment?
Sir, I'd like to just comment on Mount Vernon. We have submitted an application to our Congresswoman Tlaib for the stretch from Northwestern to Greenfield for about $4.5 million. The fact is, we've also gone to Oakland County Federal Aid Committee, and the volume of traffic is not great enough to justify dollars in the hyper competition for roads within Oakland County. So we continue to look to secure monies for that. So now we're going through what's called the community participation, almost a federal earmark, trying to get those dollars. But the current federal aid formula in Oakland County, and that is a federally aid eligible, the half-mile roads struggle to hit the traffic volume. I would encourage you to take a look at the report that's being filed tonight, our Transportation and Asset Management Plan, where the overall condition of the roads, the needle is moving in the right direction in Southfield, but we continue to have fiscal challenges. And the comment about Act 51, you were right on mark. The formulas have not been changed since the legislation was put in place in '49, but it really is time to rehaul it and get funding in place that speaks to more localized roads. The state of Michigan's embarked on record investment in the interstate, I-75, I-696, et cetera. But what happens on those half-mile roads and our residential streets, we continue to be challenged. So I would encourage you to take a look at that, and I think it's important that voices like yours are heard by our elected officials. And this body is constantly messaging that to Lansing, to our county officials, as well as our federal officials. Remind people the second piece of legislation on roads, the Transportation 2 bill, did not get through Congress last year, and that would have made some improvement. But, so these are the challenges we have. We continue to work with the resources we have. So appreciate your understanding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Stacy Jackson.
Good evening, Stacy Jackson, Southfield resident. I'm here before you this evening to discuss what is the City Council doing relative to the $38 million settlement of Oakland County relative to the housing with predatory property tax foreclosures that implicated the City of Southfield and a number of our elected and appointed officials by way of the takings clause. For those of you who may not know, that simply means that a municipality cannot foreclose upon a home for more than what is owed for the property tax. So if a homeowner property falls into foreclosure for $100, one municipality can't sell it to another for full fair market value. So if you collect that home and sell it for $300,000, that means that homeowner is entitled to $299,900. Our city was implicated in a number of things of that. In February 2023, it was featured on the front page of the Southfield Sun. In April 2023, it was actually featured in Good Morning America. In August 23 and subsequently September 2023, it was implicated front page news for the Free Press and the Detroit News. My concern is that simply because people were not arrested or held liable to that does not mean we're not to be held accountable. Right is right, even when no one in the room is doing it, and wrong is wrong, even when everyone in the room is doing it. For those who think just because there were no arrests that there's been no crime to our community, I'd like you to reflect back to the Flint water crisis, where the entire nation watched as the state of Michigan was implicated up and down the ticket for poisoning an entire city, and no one was held accountable. I'm starting to think that just as with the Flint water crisis, that nothing was done because they were working class citizens or senior citizens or a black community, that no one cares about rectifying and making those people whole. That is becoming mirrored of making the residents of Southfield made whole. Now, that's not to say that those who were implicated are bad people, but being held accountable and standing for what is right is a minimum from our elected and appointed officials. So I ask tonight, what is our city council doing as far as disbanding our for-profit and nonprofit city organizations? Or at least some type of oversight of getting new people to run it? I ask that you do your due diligence on that and make your residents whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Keith Harris.
How you doing today? For the next couple of months, I'm going to be coming here talking about one subject, and that's Wendy Webster Jackson. I had a couple of families call me. They were at the voting poll, and I wish we could have found these families when we went to court. One lady said she ruined her son's moment to run for office, to vote. It was her son's first time voting, and she was embarrassed that that kind of stuff was going on at the voting poll. I had another family, she wants to come in and speak. She's the hero that I will always respect. She's the lady who kept Miss Webster from further doing damage to me. She stood between my body and Miss Webster, and everything Miss Webster was trying to do, this lady stood right there. We need more people like her. And the way these people got in touch with me through coming to this board, coming in this meeting, I am so proud of some of the Southfield residents to say this should never happen. I am also sad that she was an African-American person who did this. She embarrassed every professional black woman in this county, in this city. Judge Sheila Johnson, Judge Deborah Nance should be ashamed that she holds any kind of title. Now, the other thing I would like to say, get to know who's running for office. This lady has defrauded her way into home ownership in this city. Pay attention. She has used her name, her hyphenated name, Wendy Webster Jackson. Sometimes she goes up under Wendy Webster. Sometimes she goes up under Wendy Jackson. Sometimes she goes up under Wendy Webster Jackson. And then when she really want to defraud the people, when she run for office, she goes up under Dr. Wendy Webster Jackson. These things are absurd. This lady is a fraud, and she's an insult to each and every one of you. You know what, one thing I tell you, I may have a difficult time with some of you, but there is nothing in the world I would do to hurt any one of you. I know for a fact we have some difficulties among ourselves, but I know for a fact that each and every one of you love this city. And I have to say you, Ms. Banks, especially love this city. And when I know she posted some things about you, I was very disappointed. And that's why I tell you, be very careful around Dr. Wendy Webster Jackson at the voting polls. We're going to put an alert out on her, public service announcement. And like I said, thank you to the residents who contacted me. They will be coming before you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Greg Keeler.
Good evening and thank you. Greg Keeler, Southfield resident. Michigan families fight to close state equity home theft loophole. That is our SNRI that they are fighting against. The SNRI lost, and should our city be cited on all these different things with lawsuits? This is not bringing a good image to our city. In 2017, Levy Middle School there was a conference there about sewers and septic tanks and connections. 1999, you bonded $33 million for sewage connected or putting sewer lines in where there was none. I have been here for over a decade about the sewer lines and the fact that you don't have them and you haven't put them where you were supposed to. SNRI said that was one of the things that they were going to do was also help with the connection and everything else. The thing I can't understand is after 3 tries, how come you don't know about it? How come just last or 2 months ago, the mayor came on the news and said, okay, we don't know where the connection's at. Well, how come you don't know where the connection's at? You had 3 strikes at this. If you call our state representative and ask for money for all other types of things, how come you haven't asked for the sewer line? It's been a decade. Are y'all slow? Real slow? Or is it that somebody else needs to run, or I need to start thinking about running because you're not moving in any direction at all that's positive? The other thing is within the neighborhood association, I looked at a lot of things and looked like it was, if they were doing neighborhoods, increasing property values, infrastructure, isn't that kind of what the city was supposed to be doing? And if you got the same people that work for the city that are doing what the city is supposed to be doing, somebody somewhere ain't doing their job. And maybe that's why the courts had a little bit of a problem, because it seemed just kind of weird that for a nonprofit corporation, now you're doing your job. But for your job working for the city, you're not doing your job. That don't make no sense. I would hope within the next 6 months or so, y'all will be speaking to the representative about getting money for finding out where the sewer line taps are at, for getting infrastructure done in here. You
Your
got
time is up.
NRI money for that. You haven't done it.
Your time is up.
And hopefully your times will be up as well.
Our next speaker is Pamela Gerald.
You know, I have been around this city for about 43 years. I have probably been one of the only residents, maybe 10 residents, that have come to these meetings for years, and I've never ran for city council. You are entitled to your own opinion, but not your own set of facts. Every single person that understands home ownership, taxable value, SEV or state equalized value, paying your taxes twice a year, absolutely knows that the city does not foreclose on houses. You have a certain amount of time to pay your taxes. After that time limit is up, your tax roll goes to Oakland County. It is Oakland County that works out any tax payment arrangements. And it's just so frustrating to get up here and talk about something that these people educated know is not true. And you should be ashamed of yourself. Now, one of the previous speakers got up and mentioned a lady's name. I was in court the day that trial was happening, because I go to court a lot to watch how the judges adjudicate over cases, and I like to spectate to see if the process is fair. The case was dismissed because it wasn't enough evidence. Sometimes you just got to leave well enough alone and move on and stop attacking people. I'm just so disappointed. And I'm also disappointed that members on the dais, council, expect for the audience to not be disruptive and not talk and make noise and have our phones ringing while the council meeting is going on. In that budget meeting in the COW, I'm listening to all these sidebar conversations over the table while people are giving a presentation, while the council president is speaking, while a councilwoman is asking a question. And if you don't read your packet and you're not prepared, sometimes you have to selah and pause and get information. But when you're doing all these sidebars across the table, you miss a lot because you're talking too much. Now, any of you, if you were president, you would not want that to happen. Now, if you don't stop all of that, I don't have a problem calling names. I'm going to start calling your names, and I'm going to ask you in those meetings to be quiet. And it'll be worth me getting put out to stop you from talking if you don't want us to talk. Now take that to the bank.
Our next speaker is Allison Bettis.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say a quick thing that I found out today, and so I just wanted to share it with you because I knew you'd want to know. The Bernie Middle School Band placed first in their division at the Festival of Music at Cedar Point. It's a national competition. They have placed first for over 20 years. And I just knew you guys would want to share in their joy. Their director, Randy Scott, is very proud of the work that they've done. They also get an award for the most professional band from the beginning of the competition to the end of the competition. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. And so I came to my unusual spot. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go back to Marcy Turner. Is Marcy Turner here? Okay, thank you. That concludes communications. We're up to presentations, and I'll turn it over to our mayor.
Good evening, Council. I'd like to ask Susan Yagasian to come to the podium. Before you, I have three joint resolutions, mayor and council resolutions. The first one is one I think you're familiar with, and that's the joint resolution for observing on June 7th the National Gun Violence Awareness Day. And I'd quickly read this to you. Whereas every day 120 Americans are killed by gun violence, and more than 200 are shot and wounded, with an average of nearly 18,000 gun homicides every year. Americans are 26 more times likely to die by gun homicide than people in other high-income countries. And whereas Michigan has 1,382 gun deaths every year, with a rate of 13.7 deaths per 100,000 people, a crisis that costs the state $16.8 billion each year. Much of this is in medical care for those who survive, of which $380.5 million is paid by taxpayers. Michigan has the 34th highest rate of gun deaths in the United States. And whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from children and people with dangerous histories. And whereas elected officials and law enforcement officers, in partnership with local violence intervention activists and resources, know their communities best and are the most familiar with local criminal activity and how to address it, and are best positioned to understand how to keep their citizens safe. Cities across the nation, including Southfield, are working to end senseless violence with evidence-based solutions. Whereas gun violence prevention is more important than ever, as we see an increase in firearm homicides and non-fatal shootings across the country, and increased calls to domestic violence hotlines, and an increase in city gun violence. And whereas to recognize the 12th or the 27th birthday of Hadifa Pendleton, who was born on June 2nd, 1997. People across the United States will recognize National Gun Violence Awareness Day and wear orange in tribute of her and other victims of gun violence. And then whereas the idea to wear orange was inspired by a group of Hadida's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange. They chose this color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods. And orange is a color that symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas anyone can join this campaign by pledging to wear orange on June 7th, the first Friday in June of 2024, to help raise awareness about gun violence. And by wearing orange, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of the gun violence victims and survivors. And whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the hands of people who should not have access to them, and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our families and communities safe. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council of the City of Southfield, County of Oakland, State of Michigan, do hereby proclaim Friday, June 7th, 2024, as National Gun Violence Awareness Day, and we encourage all citizens to support their local communities' efforts to prevent tragic effects of gun violence and to honor the value of human life. As you know, our police department has gun locks that it gives out. It also does a number of gun safety, and a police academy and advisory board are all involved in this. And of course, all the efforts that the City of Southfield puts into reducing and awareness for and reducing domestic violence. So I ask for a motion to approve this resolution, if you so see fit.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that we approve the joint resolution for the National Gun Violence Day awareness.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilman Brightwell, supported by Councilman Haynes, to approve the joint resolution for National Gun Violence Awareness Day. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd ask, we have a local chapter of Mothers Against Gun Violence. Susan Gazian's here to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Mayor Siver and council members, for inviting me to be here again. This is at least the 5th time. I think I've lost count how many times I've come here. The proclamation itself is symbolic. I don't think there's anybody here in this room who would say, yes, I'm for gun violence. But what's really important is that we take the message of this into our daily lives, and not just on June 7th, but that we are able to talk to other people about the issue of gun violence and about safe storage. We actually have 4 new laws in the state of Michigan, and I think there's really a lot of people who don't know, who are unaware of these laws. The first and most important in my book is that we have a law that there must be safe gun storage in households where children may come. That doesn't mean just your own children, but relatives, friends, neighbors. And we have to talk about this with each other. Mayor Siver also mentioned domestic violence. There's also a law that is to prevent people who are in not good mental health at the time from having a gun or having access. And then there's also a gun to improve gun registration. A law to make universal background checks for gun registration. So please, even if this is not your personal issue, please take it out into the community and remember that we all have to work together for safety. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you. For me? This here?
Yes, that's for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. We have, I have two other resolutions. Both pertain to current legislation that's under consideration in Lansing. First is the joint resolution in support of House Bill 5430 for the expansion of the Michigan State Historic Preservation tax credits established under Public Act 342 of 2020. I'm not going to read this whole resolution. You have a copy. But this, just to give you a little bit of history, Michigan had historic tax credits for many, many years. Under the administration of Governor Rick Snyder, they were eliminated. In 2020, the legislature put back funding for historic tax credits. It was only $5 million. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, I attended the National Historic Preservation Network Conference in Kalamazoo, and one of the speakers there said that when the window opened for the $5 million in tax credits, the number of applications that were filed more than took the $5 million within 7 minutes of opening the window. There's a great need for this, and this does affect our community. I'd like to ask the city administrator to comment. As you know, recently we were able to get national historic tax credits for John Grace. The process meant that John Grace School, converting it into affordable senior housing, is now on the National Register of Historic Places and thus eligible for state and federal tax credits. Mr. Zorn, I know you had something you wanted to add to this.
Yes, sir. As the mayor has indicated, John Grace has received federal historic tax credits. It is basically 20% off the total value of the renovation of the existing school off the depreciative base. Those are sold into secondary market. They become one of your equity or your funding sources on the project. The state historic preservation credits, this is very important because the $5 million, as Mayor Sivers indicated, went very quickly. Had we had a larger amount, in the past there's been a bucket of money for large projects, medium-sized projects, and small projects. John Grace probably would have been one of those small projects, and it would have been $500,000 into the equity source. So, you know, for myself and members of our team, this is always about how we can bring these dollars back into our local community. The $5 million, pretty much great project, the Ford train station. I mean, there's so few dollars, they get just taken up very, very quickly. $100 million a year, when you begin thinking about it, a lot of these buildings, as they age, without these monies, the project just doesn't happen. And as the projects get, as the buildings age, the likelihood that they'll be restored, it becomes less and less. So getting this money early in the pipeline, pulling it out of the market for almost 13 years, has been a real blow to the restoration economy, or the restoration of a lot of these buildings. As Southfield ages, we have a lot of buildings that are now eligible for these credits, things built in the 50s and the 60s, during a period when architecturally the country was going through the mid-modern, and a lot of these are simply worth preserving. So, you know, we're asking council to support this resolution, and hopefully the legislature will see the right thing. These investments drive other investments. John Grace is up to about a $19.5 million project at this point. A lot of that is low-income housing tax credits coming in, federal historic preservation dollars coming in, other grants coming in. So we're constantly looking to secure new monies. And, this is a good opportunity for the city to work to reposition some of these other buildings that we think are worth saving.
I would add that on Sunday, June 9th, once again, we will be offering our mid-century modern Southfield architecture tour. This includes roughly 40 buildings in the city of Southfield. One of the buildings that has a good chance of being rescued is by a world-renowned architect, Minoru Yamasaki. It's the Reynolds Aluminum Building on Northland Drive and Northwestern Highway. It's had a series of very poor owners for the last number of years, and now it's got new ownership, and who is interested in restoring this architectural gem. In 1960, the Reynolds Aluminum Building won all manner of architectural awards and was written up in many, many publications. Unfortunately, it's seen hard times, yet the bones of the building are very, very solid. So, and there are other buildings in the city, including religious institutions and commercial buildings that may avail themselves to this. This is part of our heritage, our architectural collection. So the bill that's under consideration is asking the Michigan legislature to increase the annual credit from $5 million to $100 million to make available to owners of both historic and income-producing residential and commercial properties. So I would ask the council to consider approving this resolution. If you do, I will be sending this to our 3 state reps and our state senator, as well as the Michigan Historic Preservation Network.
Councilwoman Haynes? I'm sorry, Councilwoman Hoag.
Unless anyone have any comments, I'm ready to move. Mr. President, I move that we approve joint resolution in support of House Bill 5430 for the expansion of the Michigan State Historic Preservation tax credits established under Public Act 343 of 2020.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Hoag, seconded by Councilman Hicks, to approve the joint resolution to support House Bill 5430. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Council. Then finally, our third resolution tonight, joint resolution. I was approached by our state representative that represents a portion of Southfield, Natalie Price, who has a bill, House Bill 5696. Matter of fact, there's a hearing on it tomorrow morning in Lansing. And just a few highlights of this bill. Whereas noise pollution from motor vehicles is generating deafening noise and seriously eroding the basic the most basic and fundamental right of residents to the peaceful enjoyment of their homes and neighborhoods, motor vehicles, and then lists all manner of them. And then, whereas major roads are frequently being misused by drivers who have illegally altered or modified their vehicle exhaust systems with the intention of creating excessive and unusual noise. Noise pollution is correlated to an increased stress and lack of sleep and can cause or exacerbate cardiovascular disease, mental health disorders, type 2 diabetes, memory, attention, and concentration issues, noise disturbances, and particularly problematic for vulnerable populations, including young children, seniors, veterans suffering from PTSD, and those undergoing at-home healing. Excessive noise can also be very difficult for pets. At any rate, I'll skip reading the rest of this, but we have been asked to join with other communities. Much of this is centered around Woodward Avenue, but believe me, you all live and drive in Southfield, and you know it, 8 Mile, Telegraph, Southfield Road, virtually every major street in the city. Quite honestly, I find it very annoying. So, again, at the request of Representative Price, you've been asked to join her effort by supporting this resolution.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that we approve the joint resolution supporting House Bill 5696 and to amend the state motor vehicle code.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Hoag, supported by Councilwoman Banks, to approve the joint resolution to support House Bill 5696. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. This resolution will also be sent to our representatives and state senator. And again, there's a hearing tomorrow morning.
All right, thank you. Council, next we have our consent agenda. These items are considered routine, non-controversial, or have previously been discussed. Does any council member wish to have an item removed for further discussion? Councilman Brightwell?
Item C,
Item C, anything else?
that's it.
Okay, item C is the facilities maintenance budget adjustment. What is your question?
We are in the process of going through the budget, and I want to find out, is this $380,000 baked into the current budget that we are approving and are working with currently?
The question is, we're doing a budget adjustment. Has the proposed budget for next year been adjusted to reflect this increase if we need it next year?
I would need to look at that. So,
Here comes Mr. Macrina. As soon as he leaves the room, we call on him.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, pretty much, the item is a budget adjustment for this year, but I'm trying to determine, is this $380,000 baked into the future year budget, which is 24-25? Is this a part of the new budget for the next fiscal year?
We may not have enough for next year, but actually doing it this way really works well, and here's why. There are so many things that need to be done in facilities that if we spend more money there or give a lot more money there, it will be spent. Better to leave it like this so that at the end of the year there's a bit of a challenge for the staff. That way the money is spent where it's needed the most. You have to remember, every single system in our building has failed. or beyond end of life. We could justify lots more expenditures. I think leaving it this way might be better.
Okay. I understand that every department can obviously spend more money if you give them the more money. So I understand that this is needed. I'm just trying to make sure that is it baked into the numbers that we are approving for the 24-25 budget?
Well, sir, it's not just that every department could spend more money. Facilities legitimately has a lot of legitimate expenditures. This is not necessarily added to 25 just because we're going to spend it in 24, because maybe we won't. If systems don't fail next year, we won't need the money. But if we allot the money, we're likely to use it on something.
Okay. All right.
Mr. President?
Yes?
Oh, are you done?
I'm done, yeah.
I move that we approve consent agenda item A, proposed agreement with the City of Lathrop Village for continued emergency dispatch services. Item B, authorization to purchase replacement vehicles for the building department. Item C, facilities maintenance budget adjustment. D, authorization to approve sign graphics for Greenfield Road Boulevard sign. E, authorization to purchase office supplies and other business-related products. F, liquor license request for South 10 Hospitality, DBA Bloom. G, Plum Hollow fireworks permit. And H, approval of the city's updated transportation asset management plan.
I need a second.
Support?
It has been moved by Councilwoman Hoag, supported by Councilwoman Banks, to approve consent agenda items A through H as presented. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
One abstention.
And one abstention. The motion passes. You have to say why you're abstaining. It's in the city charter.
No, it's okay.
Which item? Well, the motion's on everything. So you're abstaining from all the,
Correct.
okay. Does he need to verify why he's abstaining, or? No. Okay. No problem. I thought we always had to, but okay. All right, next we move into our public hearings and site plans. Our first item is our community development block grant.
Hi, Council. Nina Greenstein here to talk about the Community Development Block Grant proposal. I tried to zoom this out a little for you, but I'm presenting our budget. The Community Development Block Grant Program has been benefiting low and moderate income residents since 1975. We did receive our entitlement amount since our CAL meeting, and we have $397,949, and that's an increase of over $10,000, and our first increase in 5 years. We also got our income eligibility updates also this month. That's in your packet as well, but just some examples to be eligible for our housing rehab program. A family of 4 would need to be making less than $76,700. And an example for our CHORE program, helping seniors, a family of 2 would need to be making under $38,600. So that's just an example. We are proposing the continuation of funding the same 9 activities that we've funded previous years. The funding breakdown is on your screen and in your booklet, in your books. The housing activities make up the largest amount of the budget, and that's for Chore and SHIP and Rebuilding Together. And we have our public service activities, which are capped at 15%. So what we do is basically take 15% of our entitlements and give it to Emergency Relief Fund, Southfield Youth Assistance, Haven, and Lighthouse of Michigan. And then the last amount for administration, which includes our fair housing activities, and that's capped at 20%. So we are hoping after hearing public comment, you will approve our plan, which will become our annual action plan, and also confirm our 5-year plan with no changes, which you had approved in April of 2021.
All right. We will now have our public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. We just ask that you give your name and address for the record.
Pamela Gerald, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. My telephone number is 248-346-0439. I've had that number for a long time. Most of the members on council may not know, but for many years, probably going back to 2008, I've been a very strong advocate for Haven, domestic violence, and the things that are plagued with our society, unfortunately. And every single hearing, I get up and I ask the council respectfully to allocate more money to Haven. I've heard all of you at some point in your various things that you do in the community to say that domestic violence is high and on the rise. Well, if we know that, we need to try to get some more money to Haven. And I'm not too familiar with Lighthouse of Michigan. When we do these public hearings for the CDBGs, I would like for the person that's presenting to maybe just go through each one of the line items and say specifically, or just sum it up, what each one of those organizations are and what they do for the people that are watching. So if she could get back up and talk about Lighthouse of Michigan, if it's offering a public service, why is that amount only $1,500? And some other communities give Haven and Lighthouse up to $11,000. Is it possible that we can find another $2,500 to $3,000 to make that donation to Haven, $7,500 or $8,000? And if we could try to find another $2,500 to make Lighthouse donation $4,000. And I want you to try really hard, work those numbers, use that quadratic equation and anything else that you need to find those dollars. But let's try to up the ante. Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak about CBDG? All right, hearing none, the public hearing is closed. Council, any questions? Councilman Brightwell?
I probably know the answer to this, but I can't recall. What is the entitlement for our peer group? How does Southfield compare to our peer group with respect to the dollar value, dollars we're getting from HUD?
I'm not sure I have the numbers for the entitlements for other similar communities, but
okay,
maybe Fred can help or the mayor can help.
Mr. Mayor?
I don't think we're aware of what they're receiving from other communities. Let's, So of our public service groups, only 15% of our 397,000 can be used for public services. They could be getting funding from Royal Oak, Waterford Township. Nina, who are the other communities in Oakland County who are entitlement communities?
Are you talking about communities that are giving to these public service? Or just entitlement communities, their CDBG entitlement amounts?
Okay, well, I didn't intend to put you on the spot. I thought this was a readily available number. We would know how much various cities are getting from HUD in our zip code or state or whatever, so.
They are available, I just don't have those
Okay,
numbers
it's
in my
not
mind.
Okay, it's not a showstopper. I can get it later.
But
I can get it.
I can talk about the numbers for public service, though. So, I mean, because of our working with crunching numbers, our 15% cap, that gives us $59,693 for our public service activities. We have here, the biggest amount is going to our emergency relief fund. And they actually have already expended all the funds that we allocated for them last year. They have already helped 106 different people that have come in, done an application, and basically asked for help with rent, utilities, mortgage payments, medication and food, and we have been able to help them here in Southfield. So we would like to continue to be funding them at that level, even giving them a little bit more, because they are using those funds, they're even leveraging those funds and getting other donations, and it's helping our residents, stay in their homes and not need to be in a situation where they're going to Lighthouse of Michigan, which is an Oakland County homeless shelter, because we've helped them with our emergency relief fund. And
Nina,
then,
can I just interject? That, our money also leverages other money. Each year we get a check from the Community Foundation of Southeastern Michigan. Part of that is a grant that our human services folks fill out, but we're leveraging these federal dollars as well with those dollars.
yes. But Lighthouse of Michigan, they do, with the funds that we give them, they were able to help many residents. They do also emergency food boxes. They provide residents. They do phone crisis, and they connect people to other, people needed to other community housing programs. And they were able to help 44 Southfield residents with the amount that we've given them. Haven, they helped 323 Southfield residents, and some of those were paid for with our CDBG funds. They're also using the money well. And Southfield Youth Assistance, I think last year was maybe 65 low-income, middle-income Southfield youth that receive scholarships to be able to go to a sleepaway, not a sleepaway, my mistake, a camp or do an after-school activity or a sport that they wouldn't have otherwise been able to afford that enrichment activity.
Mr. Zorn, in the resolution we have, it says Haven is getting 3,000, but all the other material says Haven is listed at 5,000.
That is
It's
not.
5,000.
Okay.
Let me quick check that, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to, make sure that that was correct. All right. Councilman Haynes, you had a question?
Well, I think she answered. She said that Haven, the Southfield residence was 342 people? Okay, and in regards to, I'm not trying to say that we shouldn't give money to Haven or anything, but I was just looking at some of their records, and they have a year-end net asset of like $8 million. so I'm not saying that we shouldn't give any money to them, but I think that with the community development, it is good that we give more to the local programs like Southfield Youth Assistance and some of these programs that are helping the children and the residents of our city more in a larger way. And I think that such organizations like Haven have other means of creating fundraisers to gather for, the large amount of what they do. I just think that it's important that we kind of stick to what we're doing for mostly our local residents. That's just my opinion.
Council, any other questions? Okay.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that we approve the uses for the CDBG funds by adopting the annual action plan for 2024 through 2025 and confirm the 2021 through 2026 five-year consolidated plan without changes.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilman Hoag, supported by Councilman Hicks, to approve the 24-25 annual action plan and the 21 through 26 five-year consolidated plan for the community development block grant. Any
Before
further
you
question?
vote, though, in your resolution, you are correct that in this graph, maybe the clerk should note, there is a mistake with Haven.
Haven
where it's
should be at
written 3,
5,000.
and it should be 5. I checked all the other numbers, they do match. But even though it adds up correctly, in the actual resolution,
It's a
it
typo.
should be corrected to 5.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have PSLU 24-0007, a special use request by ZA Design Build, representing Superior Fence to operate a contractor's office with ancillary showroom and storage at 26650 West 8 Mile Road.
I'll turn my microphone on, that'll probably help. This is a request from Superior Fence for an existing facility at 26650 West 8 Mile in the I-1 Industrial. They are looking to do they're a fence contractor, looking to occupy as a contractor's office with ancillary storage and showroom, which is a special land use. Their hours of operation will be Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, Saturday, 8 to 2, and their employees currently 3, and potentially go up to 4. The current zoning in the area it's B3 along 8 Mile with some I-1 industrial, including this site, and then single-family residential to the north. That is consistent with the future land use, regional mixed use and single-family. As a site aerial, just kind of showing the context, you've got the kind of lighter industrial buildings, commercial buildings along the frontage, and then the residential to the north. Existing conditions. This site actually had an administrative site plan approved it was 2021, and they did do the upgrade, so there used to be parking in front of this building. They took that out, put in landscaping. They added the bike rack, the sidewalk connection, did some work on the facade of the building, so it's been brought up to code relatively recently. The last tenant was another construction company, but it went vacant for more than a year, so it lost its legal non-conforming status for not having this special land use that's in the code now for this use. So now, since they want to reoccupy after a year of vacancy, we have to get this approval. Now, once this approval is granted, it will run with the property, and we won't have to go through this exercise again with another contractor's office, unless they want to change the site. The main site change they're making is just actually adding a fence and gate along the front of the property that'll screen the area in the rear where they'll be storing their trucks. The only outside storage will be their vehicles. The materials will be stored inside the warehouse space inside the building. Some elevations on the building, showing the fence to the right there on the south elevation. North elevation, they have some overhead doors and windows. Floor plan, as you can see, the front of the building is toward the top there, the rear toward the back, I believe. Actually, no, I think it's the top, it's to the left. And they've got a large warehouse space, then they have some office space there. And I know the petitioner from the fence company is present, if they'd like to come forward.
Good evening, Zaid Arabo from ZA Design Build, representing Superior Friends. Just as per our last meeting, everything remains the same, and we're just here and happy to answer any questions that you may have.
We will have a public hearing and see what questions come up, so if you want to just have a seat. All right, this is a public hearing for PSLU 24-0007, a special use request for a contractor's office and ancillary showroom and storage at 26650 8 Mile Road. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. Please give your name and address for the record.
Pamela Gerald, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. My telephone number is 248-346-0439. I am really excited to see this company on the agenda. For several years, I have gone to the Suburban Home Show, and I went this year, and I had the privilege and the honor to meet the people that have this company. And there was a lot of fence companies there, but their company stood out. And if their display at a home show is going to be reflective of how they're going to occupy this building and run their business, I am in total support of this special use request by ZBA, or by ZA Design Build, representing Superior Fence. We need a local company because I'm going to be getting 2 fences coming up, hopefully this year. And I do know that permits are required. So to have a company that's more local and not have to call someone and then they go to a third-party company to get the fence, I think is going to be great. And thank you so much for taking a building that's been vacant and turning it into your business. And welcome to Southfield. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on PSLU 24-0007? All right, seeing none, public hearing is closed. Council, any questions for the petitioner? Councilman Brightwell?
Yeah, I'm not sure I asked this question the last time, but it is one that is consistent. What type of lighting will you have, outside lighting, will you have around this facility? And will it, I'm talking about, light pollution, and will it affect any of the surroundings, especially from a human standpoint?
Yeah, there's existing shielded wall packs on the building currently. There are existing wall packs.
Okay.
Shielded, so it doesn't filter into the neighbors next to us. It's concentrated on the parking lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you, okay.
Correct. No lighting in the front because we're too close to the sidewalk.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, good enough.
Yep.
That's all I have.
I'm going to ask a quick question. When you were here last, remember there was a resident who had asked about a wall in the back. What was your response to that? What did you say?
Ooh, I don't remember that question.
That wasn't there?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a different, okay, I'm sorry, never mind.
It's okay.
I thought it was the
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I move that we approve PSLU 24-0007, special use request by ZA Design Bill as presented.
It has been moved by Councilman Brightwell, supported by Councilman Haynes, to approve PSLU 24-0007 as presented. Any other questions, council? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening.
Thank you. All right, next up is PSLU 24-0008, a special use request by MAB Real Estate to construct and operate a gas station with beer, wine, liquor, and carry-out restaurant at 30835 Greenfield Road.
Thank you, Council President. This is a gas station redevelopment project. The gas station at the corner is on a small lot. It's older style. That's just a canopy with a small building in the middle. They have actually acquired the building to the south along Greenfield, small office building. They're going to add on to that building and renovate it and redevelop the remainder of the site into a more modern service station. They are looking to add a carry-out restaurant in the gas station and beer, wine, and liquor sales. So there's sort of three special land uses. It's the gas station, the beer, wine, liquor sales, and the carry-out restaurant. They're all rolled into one. Hours of operation, Monday through Thursday, 5 a.m. to 11 p.m., Friday through Saturday, 5 a.m. to midnight. Currently, they have 5 employees. With the addition of the more floor area and the carry-out, they may be going as high as 9 to 14. Their max shift would be 2 to 4 employees. I did note on the context map, when I zoomed out a little bit, that the other beer and wine and alcohol sales in the area, to the south, Capri Pizza is also a liquor store, beer and wine in Southfield. And to the north, you have the Beverage Warehouse, which is outside the city, and across Greenfield, you have 7-Eleven, which sells beer and wine. Just to kind of note what's in the area with regard to that. We do have the zoning. We've got B3 zoning on the frontage, both for that part of 13 Mile and Greenfield, and then residential zoning. This is consistent with the future land use map, which has moderate density residential, and then the local mixed use commercial. Just a site aerial, kind of zooming in a little. You can see the original gas station, the canopy with the small building in the center. And then just to the south is the office building that they've acquired. They've already combined the parcels, so that step is done already. And you can see the corner there. This is the site landscape plan, colorized, just to be a little easier to read. You can kind of see on the building there, the existing is the L, and then they're filling in the notch and coming out a little bit to the north. They've got a walkway, small outdoor seating area. I'm going to have the new canopy and islands kind of in the location where the existing gas station is. Noting a couple of other changes that they are adding a sculpture just by the seating area there. And in response to some of the things that have come up in prior hearings, the dumpster's actually moved further away from the property line. It's moved north away from the property line with the residential, and the screening wall along that area, which is due to a grade change, is a little wonky. They're going to actually raise the height of that to 8 feet. They put that in their plans to provide a better separation from the residential. Floor plan, as you can see to the right, is the front door, which would be facing north. And they've got their walk-in cooler, their counter register area and floor area, carry-out restaurant to the back. Then they've got a staircase that goes up to the kind of mezzanine upper floor level that's storage on the second floor. Elevations. You see the partial second floor there. And they did some renderings that give a better sense of what the building's massing will look like. They show the sculpture there to the left. A lot of windows. And I believe the petitioner is present to address the council.
Good evening, everyone. Name is Sam Bakal. Location is on 13 Mile and Greenfield. I believe we have not made any changes since the last time we spoke, except what the planner had suggested to add a sign of welcome to the city of Southfield, and we are working with the planner to fit that sign on the plans.
Okay. So we'll have a public hearing and see what comments come about from that.
Okay.
All right, so this is a public hearing for PSLU 24-0008. Special use request by MAB Real Estate to construct and operate a gas station with beer, wine, liquor sales, and a carry-out restaurant at 30835 Greenfield Road. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. Please give your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pamela Gerald, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. My telephone number is 248-346-0439. You know, we have a lot of businesses that for many years have been committed to the community. And I go to this gas station, and I will tell you that we have a lot of gas stations in this city that go over and above to be a well-lit gas station, to make it safe, not have people standing around peddling and harassing you when you walk into the gas station. The parking lots are well maintained. There's no big gigantic holes. And I'm just so happy that the city is embracing the fact that our retail is changing, and these business owners need to be in a situation where they can change with the trends and still be able to provide for their families. Now, I know a lot of people feel like it's a detriment to an African-American community. I don't think so, because whatever people do, they have to make the best choice, and they have to be able to know when and when not to. But I'm just so happy that Sam, who I've known for many years, purchased the parcel and wants to reinvest into the city to make that a nice corner. And to hear him say that they want to put the nice sign there with the landscaping that says, "Welcome to Southfield," like you see in a lot of other communities, I'm really, really happy about that. And if this council could reach out to some of the other gas stations that are at what I call entry points into Southfield, and see if we can work out something where they can do that, that would be really great and make our city look good. I'm sick and tired of seeing the signs on the pine-treated posts, painted green, that just says, "Welcome to Southfield," and it looks horrible. Even Oak Park has on the bridge nice black wrought iron awning that says, "Welcome to the city of Oak Park." So if we're not going to put that over our bridge overpass, the least we could do is work with some of these gas stations, and if they're willing to put that at the entry point into their cities, we need to allow them to redevelop those corners that have just been sore spots and make it beautiful. You know, Southfield is trending. We got Northland.
Keith Harris, 21685 Rougewood Drive. I think it's a pretty station. It looks nice. I mean, everything, but, you know, I'm just against more liquor, period. You know, I got a 21-year-old son, police officer, and everywhere he go, people say, "Hey, man, why don't we turn it up?" You know, that means drinking. You know, everybody now, he don't drink at all, but everybody wants to drink and vape. You know, they just closed down a gas station liquor store for selling them little vape tablets to some teenage kids. Like I said before, I went to the Fallen Officers events, a couple of them in Detroit at a few stations, and I didn't know most of our officers were killed under the influence of alcohol, going to domestic violence. You know, it's sad. What Michigan State now want to serve alcohol at their games. You can't go to Fridays now, they got 40-ounce gallons of daiquiris to carry out. You know, like I said, I'm just against more alcohol because of the lives that it costs. If I'm not mistaken, our police officers was just in a high-speed chase that cost someone their lives, and the driver was under the influence of alcohol. When I come up here and talk about candidate Wendy Webster Jackson, most of her domestic violence between her and her husband, alcohol. You know, I've seen two autistic young people, they would walk down 10 Mile, and they would come from this house on the corner of Simulset and 10 Mile. They would just buy liquor and just drink. One of the young men actually died from septic poisoning. He was young. And guess what home he came from? Candidate Wendy Webster Jackson. I'm against alcohol. My father died in a car accident from alcohol. A guy, killed my father and 10 people. And guess who lived out of the whole accident? The alcoholic. I know me here is falling on deaf ears, but I'm going to tell you, it could be your kids next. It could be your kids. I'm just hoping every kid is strong as mine and say no. I'm just hoping. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to come up and speak?
Name is Garland McWilliams, 15641 Pennsylvania Street. Phone number 248-885-9037. I'm not opposed to any redevelopment of our area, beautifying and everything, but to have another liquor store especially at a gas station, it doesn't make sense to me. When I first moved to Southfield, my wife and I did a lot of renovation and everything, and I said, well, I'm tired. Let's relax. Let me go and get a little spirits to chill out with and everything. And I went out, and I couldn't find a liquor store. And I came back and I laughed. I said, ain't no liquor store. Some areas have a liquor store on every other block. And I don't want Southfield to be that way. There's a service station on Greenfield and 10 Mile, a Shell station, and I'm not too far away from there. I frequent it all the time. And I went in there the other day there, and lo and behold, they have a liquor license now. There's a whole wall of whatever you want and everything. Like I say, I'm not opposed to liquor, but I think we got enough liquor outlets and everything, and I don't think we need another one. That's all I need to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to PSLU 24-0008? All right, seeing none, public hearing is closed. Mr. Deputy City Planner, I know that you and I spoke last week because there were some questions from the council of why we require a special use and why we have a public hearing. Do you mind speaking to that before we get into questions from the council?
Yeah, I'm going to try to keep this brief because you could go on in this topic for a while. Special land use is enabled by the Zoning Enabling Act if you put it in your ordinance and you have standards for it. The purpose of a special land use as opposed to a permitted use, well, you have two categories, is special land uses are uses that may be acceptable within a zoning district in many places if they're properly designed and located, but there may be locations where either they're not appropriate or locations where their design needs to be more sensitively configured. And in some places, special land uses are actually called conditional uses because you're allowed to condition the use as part of the way the law works. And the idea is that if they can address the potential nuisance effects that could come from a use, either through site design or through conditions, then that is considered an appropriate way to do that. And that special land use gives you that public hearing to get that input, and it gives you that extra level of scrutiny, and the ability to condition the approval gives you the ability to say, say you had a drive-through use next to homes, you definitely don't want that running all night or it's going to disturb the residents. You could say to that drive-through operator, yeah, we'll approve a drive-through here, but it can't be open past 10. That's a condition that would make that use acceptable in that location, where be open 24 hours would be unacceptable if there were homes right behind that drive-through. So it's a good example of In my career, many of the uses I've seen conflicts with have been late-night uses or all-night uses near residences. Pretty common conflict point. So you'll see in special land uses, we almost always have hours of operation as part of the conditions of the approval, because that's one of the types of things you can condition to try to address those. But also, where do you put the curb cuts? Where is the trash enclosure? Where is the screening wall? How is the landscape configured? Where are the delivery zones? You know, how does that impact neighbors? So these are all things that you get to consider in more detail because you're having a public hearing, and because of the ability to specifically condition those uses so that they will fit that location better. That's the extra leverage you get from a special land use or a conditional use. That a permitted use by right still has to meet the site plan review standards and the basic dimensional standards of the ordinance, but it's generally considered the permitted uses are going to be okay in almost every location within that zoning district, where the special land use might need a little more work to fit it.
So as long as it meets all of the requirements by the city, we still want to take in public comment just to see what other changes would make life easier for the surrounding residents. Is that?
And in some cases, if you didn't have that level of scrutiny and the ability to condition, you wouldn't even make it a permitted use in the district. That ability to kind of custom fit that use into its district makes it potentially viable in a way where you might not allow it at all otherwise. So the idea is if they can address any potential nuisance standards through design or conditions, then generally that use is considered acceptable where it is located. To deny the use, you have to actually make findings and say why, through either design or conditions, it wasn't appropriate in that location. That's why if you look in the special land use section, there are a set of standards, because you have to have those per the law. And that's really the findings against, which you make to determine whether or not, yes, this one will work here with these conditions or with these configurations, but otherwise it wouldn't. Now, the other approach to that is, in some cases, a use may be acceptable, but you know how to configure it to fit. Instead of making it a special land use, you make it a permitted use, but you give it specific site development standards that would address those concerns in every case. So there's sort of two approaches to dealing with that. The special use one is actually more flexible, because you have the ability to kind of customize your response, whereas the permitted use with site development standards, it's kind of a one-size-fits-all situation. Like, these are the rules. If you want this use here, you have to meet these rules. So there are different approaches to doing it. I think this was meant to be a more flexible tool to fit the uses into these districts.
Okay. Thank you. Council, do you have any questions for the petitioner or the planning department? Councilman Brightwell?
In essence, I pass this site frequently, and it's good to hear that there'll be no adverse effect around the community, and also that the police have done crime prevention. And the property that's being acquired, it was in the news, and was this the place where a lawyer did something wrong or did something wrong?
Yes, the attorney who owned that property and ran his law firm out of there was accused of contract killing of a jeweler in Oak Park. It was all over the news about a year and a half ago.
The trial is going on right now.
Okay.
I believe he's still in prison, and like he said, he's still, the trial is going on. So his family sold the building and we bought it. The building has been empty for over a year and a half, ever since the incident.
Okay. And when I was aware of this, and I was just hoping that because of that litigation, that property wouldn't sit vacant for years and years, because of what was going on. And the fact is there's no adverse impact on the surrounding community, and plus your addition to the city of Southfield, the sign recognition. I'm very in favor of this, and
thank you.
permissible at this point, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve this special use request, PSLU 24-008, as presented.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilman Brightwell, supported by Councilwoman Haynes, to approve PSLU 24-0008. Council, any other questions or comments? I'd just like to add, I know that this corner is always kept up nicely, but these improvements, especially the welcome to Southfield sign, will definitely increase this corner. All right, so we have, again, a motion by Councilman Brightwell, supported by Councilwoman Haynes, to approve PSLU 24-0008. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion?
Nay.
1 no. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have the site plan review, PSP 24-0004, for this same project. Do you have anything to add?
No, sir, just that the typical conditions apply, obviously the special land use, which was just approved. They do have a few setback variances because of the location of the existing building that they have to acquire from the zoning board. And then conditioned on the plans that are before you, they have to do a perpetual site maintenance agreement, and any recommendations of the police department for crime prevention would be complied with. So the sort of standard conditions.
All right. Council, any questions? Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve PSP 24-004, the site plan review as presented.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilman Brightwell, supported by Councilwoman Banks, to approve PSP 24-0004. Any other questions, council? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
1 opposed, motion carries. All right, thank you. Next, we have PZR ODD 24-0001, a rezoning request for 29777 Telegraph Road to make an overlay development district with underlying B3 general business, to create a master development plan and agreement, and to approve the associated site plan to allow the development of 2 commercial outlots between the existing office building and Telegraph Road.
Thank you, Council President. As noted, this is an ODD, an overlay development district. It qualifies, being on this part of the Telegraph corridor, for potential inclusion in an overlay development district. The owners of the property approached us wanting to do some outlot development similar to the office building to the south where the Starbucks is now and the Panda Express was approved recently. And the easiest way to make that work with all of the various zoning requirements was to use an overlay development district. Otherwise, a number of variances would have been required to do the lot splits to create the outlots. So just to overlay, right now it's EROM, which is Education Research Office Limited. They are looking to go to an overlay development district with B3 basis. The newer outlots to the south are B3. A lot of the frontage on Telegraph is in fact B3. It is regional mixed use future land use, which is consistent with the B3. The current uses under EROM are mostly, as not surprising, offices, facilities for human care, dormitories for students or quarters for instructors, for educational institutions, data processing, studios, hospitals, housing for the elderly. With the change to the ODD with the B3 underlaying, you get the B3 uses, and there's a set of uses that are also covered by the ODD overlay itself. They did exclude a number of uses in their ODD draft agreement: funeral homes, gasoline stations, auto and truck sales agencies, pawn shops, homeless shelters and soup kitchens, sexually oriented businesses, cabarets, medical marijuana provisioning centers, and adult use marijuana retailers were all excluded in their proposed ODD agreement. So those uses will not be available to them should you approve this and the ODD agreement is executed and recorded with their deed. That will be a restriction on the property. Site aerial, as you can see, you've got the large kind of I-shaped or H-shaped office building, large parking field around it. Apparently quite a bit of availability, about, even on their busiest day, they say a third of that parking is available, even on their busiest day. Some existing condition photos showing the parking lots in front of the building along Telegraph. This is the overall site and landscape plan. You can see the two outlots with the two buildings in front. And then they also are putting a pickleball court at the rear of the property as an amenity for the office tenants with a connecting walkway. There's going to be bike racks at the new buildings. There's going to be sidewalk connectors that go to the new buildings and to the office building, which presently don't really provide access out to the sidewalk. Improvements at the bus stop to the north. There's going to be a little plaza at the corner there with a sculpture. Phasing plan they're looking at is like north and south phase, and then the main site improvements. They would like to get this all approved along with the site plan in one go, as long as it's approvable, consistent with the master development plan, because they're looking to lease this, once they get their entitlements, to find tenants, get this built and get it occupied. This is associated, I believe, with Friedman, so they've got the capacity to bring in tenants. So a rendering of the site provided by Design House. You can see the two new buildings out front, the office building behind them. They're adding landscaping, screening the fronts of the cars in that green belt, improving the bus stop, adding that little plaza there, sidewalk connectors out to the sidewalk. This is the north outlot. This will be a restaurant building. It's 2 restaurants, each 2,500 square feet, roughly 5,000 square foot total. One of them will have a drive-through window. Shows this is a concept floor plan since they don't have tenants identified yet, but roughly what the intensity of use you could find in a building that size. Some elevations of the concept here. Kind of a modernist approach to complement the modernist architecture of the building. Then you've got, once again, another shot here from the road showing the increased landscaping along the front that screens the ends of those cars, which is missing at the moment. Probably was not a requirement at the time. The plaza, and then another shot of the restaurant building. The south outlot phase. There's sort of 2 concepts for this. There's a retail option and an office option. This is the floor plan for a 3-unit retail, and this is their concept of what that would look like. These have the same footprint, the 2 concepts. This is the office floor plan with more of a real estate office or something similar in that. Both another 5,000 square foot building. This is the area to the rear with the walkway through the parking lot back to the pickleball court. Some renderings of that. And then I believe the petitioner is present.
So if you can just give your name and address and anything you'd like to add before our public hearing.
Hello, my name is Andrew Miller. I represent Design House at 3300 Auburn Road, Suite 300 in Auburn Hills. The only thing I would like to add to that was, you see on the site plan, we did add landscaping to the Telegraph side just to shield headlights within the parking lot, but other than that, everything's the same.
Okay. So we will now have a public hearing for PZR ODD 24-0001, a request to rezone 11.9 acres of land at 29777 Telegraph Road. Please give your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Pamela Jarrow, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. My telephone number is 248-346-0439. I'm impressed with the renderings. Design House for many years have done a lot of work in the city of Southfield for various businesses, and their work is incredible. Beautiful renderings. All I can say is that I'm just impressed. I always liked the idea of a business coming in to occupy some of the, what used to be called premier businesses that people have vacated. Telegraph is one of the most highly trafficked roads in Oakland County, as well as the state of Michigan, and to have a vacant Telegraph Road would not be a good look for the city. I'm sure the buildings are going to be, I don't know if it's possible for any buildings that are more industrial-like to be LEED certified, because I'm really big on that. And I was wondering if there was a way that we could put another welcome sign that says, "Welcome to the city of Southfield," because right in that particular area, that's where Southfield starts. And I think in the median, there used to be a sign that was put there by Lawrence Tech. Is it gone? Because I didn't see it.
Still there.
Oh, well, I'd like to see something else, a little bit more update and state-of-the-art, like this, you know, like the renderings are reflecting what it's going to look like. But I love it, and I think Design House is a good company. So as a taxpayer here, I am in favor of PZR 0DD 24-0001, the request to rezone. But can they put a welcome to Southfield sign there? Is it possible, Mr. Andrew Miller from Design House? Thank you.
All right, this is a public hearing for PZR ODD 24-0001. If anyone else would like to comment? All right, seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Council, do you have any questions? Councilman Brightwell?
This is for the planner. This is purely for informational purposes only, but it will, what drives an outlot development? I know that's happening there, it's been happening for a few years. Is there a trigger that indicates this is a good spot for an outlot development?
I would say it's actually fairly straightforward in that there's a lot of excess parking on this site, and it's on a high-traffic, high-visibility road. So these sort of commercial tenants that would go out in front of an office building are attracted to anything with that kind of traffic count and visibility. You know, it's why people want to be on corners on Telegraph and on Southfield. It's that, you know, it's that high visibility, high traffic count. In addition, they also have like a captive audience. Two large office buildings right here are potentially, and now walkable because of the way we've required the sites to be developed. So there's like a captive audience, and then there's a large pass-by audience. And as was noted, Telegraph has one of the higher traffic counts in the area. A lot of folks will go by this.
Right.
So it's a highly desirable piece of commercial frontage that at present, you know, from a real estate point of view, is underutilized to a large extent.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what drove that question was, Home Depot on Southfield. They have a development right there now, and I was surprised that was a desirable spot, but the businesses that are there, they seem to be striving. So that was just, the chicken before the egg or something, that kind of situation.
Yeah. Some of the large retail chains like Home Depot and Walmart have very specific rules about their visibility and things between them and the road. And that's, they just kind of got their own high-level corporate rules for that stuff. So I would suspect that will come along. That many of these uses are seeing the benefit of using that parking for something other than just an open field of pavement. Especially as our stormwater requirements increase, having parking that you have to manage stormwater for that you can't do anything economically productive with is probably not going to be a good pencil out for a lot of people in the future.
Okay, all right, well, thank you.
Council, any other questions? Councilman Banks?
Do you have any idea on a restaurant that you may put there? Or can you not disclose that at this time?
Hi, John Paul Wolf with Friedman Real Estate Group. No, we don't have a user yet. The goal of this is to get the approved use and then take it to the market.
Thank you.
All right, and then there was a question from the audience regarding the sign, "Welcome to Southfield." There used to be a sign on the median on Telegraph as you enter Southfield from Bingham Farms. It was hit by a driver and is currently being restored.
Yes, it is.
So just to point that out, so there is a "Welcome to Southfield" sign right in that area.
It's going through the insurance claim process, which takes some time.
Yes,
Yeah.
takes a long
All right, council, any other questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I move that we approve PZR ODD 24-0001, a request to rezone as presented.
It has been moved by Councilman Brightwell, supported by Councilwoman Haynes, to approve PZR ODD 24-0001 as presented. Any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Before we get to the ordinance, Madam Clerk, I believe the ordinance number should be 1786. Yes, because the last item we approved was in March. That ordinance number was 1785. So I believe we're in the 17s. So just
Mr. Chair?
want to get it right the first time. Yes.
Oh, I'd like to introduce ordinance number 1786.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilman Brightwell, supported by Councilwoman Banks, to introduce ordinance number 1786. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. All right, our last public hearing for the evening. PZR RUDD 24-0001 to rezone 5.5 acres of land on South Hooper Boulevard, west of Berg, to a residential unit development district to construct 2 4-story apartment buildings, 60 apartments total, and 4 2-story attached townhome buildings for 12 townhomes total, along with various amenities, including the park area and dog runs per the RUDD regulations.
Thank you, Council President. I'll try to summarize quickly because we do have the applicants present to speak. And this has been discussed 2 times previously with council. Hooper Boulevard, south side, the nonprofit, community nonprofit owns those, looking to do a residential infill development. Just for context, it shows the existing multifamily to the south, some actually across the road and a little bit to the north of Longberg. There was a question about how much was owned by the Southfield nonprofit ownership, so we produced a nice map here showing the current extent of property owned by the nonprofit, just for reference. Now, the current development is just the south side of Hooper, but there is substantial property north of Hooper as well. The area is zoned R2 residential, moderate density residential, future land use. So the moderate density residential future land use is actually fairly consistent with what's proposed. The R2 residential zoning is a little dated compared to what's in your future land use map. There was some visioning and planning done in 2014 for this area, which resulted in the Valleywood Senior Campus Community Revitalization Plan. And these were the 2 main concepts. These were visions. And you can see there was a variety of multifamily in these visions, attached sort of townhouses and some apartment buildings. So this is along those lines. Just a site arrow showing conditions. You'll note that the wooded area kind of in the middle of that site, that's actually a non-regulated wetland woodland area. That's going to be retained with a conservation easement as part of this development. color site plan, just kind of giving you the layout. You get the 2 apartment buildings toward the west end of Hooper. There will be a path that goes, there's a path that goes along Hooper, and then we'll go along that west side and attach to the path that goes down to the river, and the river walk down in that area. And once again, this is just a zoom in on the site plan for the apartments. You can see the dog runs, the park area, and some passive recreation areas in the center between the buildings. Parking kind of wraps around with the utility space. Just floor plan, you can see there's some community space on the first floor and some apartments. Upper floors are mostly apartments. Same thing in the east building. Renderings of the apartment buildings. Got looks like a cultured stone or brick on the base, siding above, sloped roof to blend into the area. Just another rendered elevations. Back to the color site plan for reference. Now, this is the townhouses that are up by the corner, which is meant to be kind of a transitional use to the other sort of townhouses across the road. You can see the bike racks, sidewalk connections, parking. There are 3 side-by-side units in each building. They're 2 stories. Ground floor, you've got a master bedroom, and then you got kitchen, dining area. Upstairs, you got 2 more bedrooms and bath. Elevations for these buildings, very traditional. Similar architecture to the apartment building, but taking it down in scale. Renderings for those, color renderings. And then the petitioner is present. Some comment?
If you could just give your name and address for the record, and I know we've gone through this at least 2 other times. If there's anything additional you would like to add, other than that, we can, I guess, go straight into the public hearing.
Certainly. Good evening, Janae Eisenmanger, 3627 West Verner Highway, Detroit. And we're very pleased to be here this evening to answer any additional questions, but nothing to our proposal has been edited or amended at this point.
Okay. So we'll have a public hearing and see what other questions may come up. This is a public hearing for PZR RUDD 24-0001. Please give your name and address for the record, and each speaker will have 3 minutes.
Again, Pamela Gerald, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. The name Wellspring that I know of, I know it from being a place for rehab, like I thought it was physical rehabilitation, burn victims, respiratory therapy, physical therapy.
Can you speak louder into the mic, please?
Kind of a place because of the rain, thank you. So I want to get more of an idea of what exactly is this place going to be? Is this a place, when you say affordable housing is 30% of a person's income. So are these apartment townhomes going to be based on 30% of a person's salary, or do they have a 6-figure tag on them? Is the rent going to be $3,000 or $4,000? I'm just not clear. I always like the idea of having additional places added into the city of Southfield because our population is booming, because we've got the Northland project going on, which is going to have a new police station in it, state-of-the-art, in that area that we call the downtown area. We've got the development that's going to be happening across the street from City Hall. So I just need a little bit more information about the company or the organization Wellspring. Is it a rehab for people that are addicted to substances? I just need more information, and because I don't have that information, I have mixed views about it. The renderings look nice, but you know, you gotta tell the people more about what you're going to do here as opposed to just providing beautiful renderings. So I would like more information, and if the information is not really clear, is it possible that council could table this public hearing until the public has gotten more information about Wellsprings and what this means coming to the city of Southfield? Thank you.
Greg Keeler, P.O. Box 4949, Southfield, Michigan. I'm going to say no to this, primarily because it is SNRI, and that there is issue with them in the court system saying people from our government here and then being over there. So that, to me, is a conflict of interest. I have my next door neighbor who would like to expand his business, and you are a business-friendly group, supposedly, but he can't grow because of a sewer line. I don't think
Can you
these
please
problems
speak
would
to
be
this
there.
item?
No, my thing is unfair competition. And that is exactly what I'm talking about. So that is according to this matter. So you have unfair competition because you are able to move things and do things and look for money for yourselves, but you're not doing that for other people or residents. And I think that is wrong. That is totally wrong. And you should look very hard just because of who's involved and what has been done to residents already, and now you're going to let it free and available on our senior citizens, most vulnerable people. Now, another group comes with this plan, okay, fine. But this one, no.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to PZR RUDD 24-0001? All right, seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Did someone want to explain the differences between the townhomes and the apartments for the question that was asked by the resident?
The project consists of 60 recovery housing apartments, and our referrals are from the Oakland County Treatment Courts. And as indicated previously, folks are referred exclusively from the Oakland County Treatment Courts, and they enter Wellspring sober. They've been sober for 60 to 90 days. And all the treatment courts do all the vetting, they do all the assessments, and the goal is for folks to live in a safe, well-secured, long-term, affordable housing development where they can focus on their long-term sobriety and recovery. The 12 townhomes are set aside for households that earn no more than 60% of the area median income. They're 3 bedrooms and 2 full baths. And as an example, if there's a family of 5 parents and 3 children, that family will not earn more than $75,000 annually when they first sign the lease initially. And once they sign the lease, they are allowed to, obtain more job opportunities, educational supports, and their incomes are allowed to increase, and they will be allowed to rent in the townhomes. The same thing with the recovery housing tenants. We expect them to connect with the wonderful resources in the city of Southfield to also gain additional educational supports, job opportunities, employment opportunities, attend Lawrence Tech, et cetera. And they will also be allowed to reside as they also increase their household income as well.
Okay, thank you. Council, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but just a statement that the council did vet this for a number of times, I think 3 times. And additionally, we visited a property of the same caliber and same offerings in another city. A few of us rather, I'll say, took a trip. And although not all of our projects that present before us is going to be 100% satisfied by everyone, I will say that for this project, we did have some issues that we tackled, we talked about. We heard from the judges that are involved in the Oakland County Drug Court. Some of us have personal experiences with family members, friends, or whomever. And when we talk about a lot of the issues that come before us about liquor and gas stations, medical marijuana, recreational marijuana, this too is part of today's society that we have to deal with. We don't want to throw people away because of past circumstances, but this is just a part of metro area cities and what we have to deal with. We've talked to clients, I don't know if that's how you refer to them, who in another city, well, I know I did. I talked to actual clients, and how this has helped them has helped their area. So where some may not see it as the perfect project and nothing ever is 100% perfect, I do think that this is something that, again, cities in the metro area, we have to deal with. And we can't just throw people away and thinking that that's it, but yet give people a second chance as we would want a second chance as well. I know that I had some issues, and we came back again and we talked about it. And like I said, it may not be 100% perfect, but I can support it. So that's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councilwoman Haynes?
I also had the opportunity to visit the site in Jackson, and I think this is a much-needed place in our community. It satisfies some of the growing concerns that we have in our community, and it sheds a positive light on what can be done to help those in need. For those that have been talking about what is Southfield doing, well, we already were doing some things, and this is evidence of the things that we are trying to do to get those things in place for those families. I'm confident with the staff and some of the things that they said they have done in the past. Their reputation speaks for that, and I welcome this in our community. In my background in the past, I've worked with a group home, I was also working in the police department when I was younger, and there's a growing need for, like she said, not throwing people away. These are people, these are family members, these are folks that need maybe more than a second chance, but they need a place to live, a place to thrive, to feel protected, be protected, and also be held accountable. And this is a great place for that to happen, and also for families to have a place to stay. There's not a competition either. It's not. We just need to help those, and it's not knocking anyone else out, but this is just great for our city, and I support it.
Councilman Brightwell?
I also visited this location and had a tour, and also given my background, I looked at it not only from a societal need and also from a community standpoint. Everything that I ever dealt with had to have sustainability. And I looked at the business plan and the so-called business plan of how sustainable is this and what is the revenue sources. They definitely pan out, and just being practical again, I look at it again from a crime prevention standpoint. And I felt the police department, our police department, has done a very thorough job of looking at this from a crime prevention standpoint. And the project can be commercialized if there's some things down the road that are there's a hiccup or something. it was explained to me in a very detailed manner. It can be commercialized. So this project, well, going back to the original comments of my colleagues, is a societal need. There's a, and Southfield residents will be utilizing this facility. But from my vantage point, and which is, it is sustainable and it is doable. So I will be supporting this.
Thank you. Council, any other questions?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that we approve the rezone request PZRRUDD 24-0001 on the south side of Cooper Boulevard, west of Berg Road, to residential unit development district to construct 2 4-story apartment buildings and 4 2-story attached townhome buildings, along with various amenities and as, with the conditions as listed in the resolution.
It has been moved by Councilman Hoag, supported by Councilwoman Haynes, to approve PZR RUDD 24-0001 as presented. Council, any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that we enact ordinance number 1787, I believe.
Yes.
Introduce.
Well, would it be 6?
It's
The
introduced.
last one I thought was
Was it?
86.
Yeah.
So
It's
it's
7. It is.
1787 is correct.
Okay, 1787.
Did someone second that? I'm sorry? Oh.
Dan.
Yeah,
Councilman
I
White.
think we're introducing, not enacting.
Right.
Introduce, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Ordinance number 1787.
All right, we have, it has been moved by Councilwoman Hoag, supported by Councilwoman Haynes, to introduce ordinance 1787. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, next, we are on the council portion of our agenda.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that we approve the travel expense report for Councilwoman Haynes for the CapCon 24 convention in Lansing.
Support.
March 11th through the 13th.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Hoag, supported by Councilwoman Banks, to approve the travel expense report for Councilwoman Haynes for attending the CapCon 24 in Lansing on March 11th through 13th. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And Councilwoman Hoag, do you have any comments for this evening? Councilman Hicks?
No, sir.
Councilwoman Banks?
Need to hold on 1 second.
Sure.
I believe a resolution last week or a few weeks ago was presented regarding Public Works Week. But again, I'd just like to thank our department for the wonderful work that they do in the city of Southfield, and recognize all of the employees in the Public Works Department for Public Works Week. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Haynes?
Yes, I had the opportunity this weekend to attend the Michigan Municipal League Core Summit a program, and I learned a lot of valuable information that I definitely will implement in the role that I serve in. And I also would like to say a big congratulations to the Southfield Police Department for an excellent program honoring our fallen hero, our fallen officers. It was such a beautiful day with the color guard representing, and also our chaplain, Miss Rosemary Allen. In addition to her singing the national anthem, she gave a very encouraging and uplifting speech for all of us to remember. It was a very good program. That entire setting where the memorial was really nice, and it was really amazing. You can smell the fresh lilac, and it was just a beautiful occasion. And also today, I had the pleasure to attend the Coffee with a Cop with Chief Barron and Tim Hortons host Rolanda. That's just the Tim Hortons right near, I think it's this old Southfield Lathrop School. And it was a community event. It was a very relaxed setting where you were able to speak with the chief and his team and hear important information regarding our community. And for those of you that are interested, the last Coffee with a Cop will be next Monday at Tim Hortons on 12 Mile. That's near the Kroger, beginning from 8 to 10. And here in our city, we definitely take pride, big pride in our police department and celebrate our chief, who just had a birthday also. And a big congratulations to Bernie Middle School on their first place placement. Music is such an important part of our lives, especially for children growing up. I remember being in the band and how important music was to me, and I still remember our band director. And in saying that, I can say that they are in good hands with director and renowned musician, Brother Randy Scott. So congratulations again to Bernie Middle School. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilman Brightwell?
For my veterans, the city of Southfield will be hosting a Memorial Day ceremony on Friday, May 24, starting at 9 a.m. here at the municipal campus. The program will be highlighting the Modford Point Marines. It's a storied body of soldiers in World War II. It's about like Tuskegee Airmen. These were black Marines that back in that era where they had separate military and separate armies, and it's more analogous to the Tuskegee Airmen. These were where they trained Moffett Point, North Carolina, so they were called the Moffett Point Marines. They will be on it, and the keynote speaker will be a Sergeant Major, Master Sergeant Raymond Rogers from that group. So everyone is welcome, and obviously this is something we do every year, but we normally have, historically we've had individuals, generals, but this man here, he will be a foot soldier. My last item, with respect to veterans, just in case, it was good to hear from individuals who actually asked me about the Elizabeth Dole Foundation supporting and sponsoring caregivers. And a couple of individuals called me about it. So you may not be a veteran, but if you know of veterans that could utilize the services that I mentioned, please pass the info on. And this is for veterans who might have it's a confidential crisis line. And if you feel that you need to talk to someone or you need help, you can call 988 and just press 1, and you will get an individual who will assist you in whatever you might be going through at that time. This is for veterans, 988 and press 1. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to ask our city attorney, our deputy city attorney, I'm sorry. I asked a question earlier in the meeting about the city charter on voting. Can you, I believe you did some additional research?
Sure, expound upon that. Yes, Council President, thank you. I misspoke in that
Is your
the
mic on?
abstention.
No, just can't hear.
It's on.
I misspoke in that the abstention does not need to be stated on the record. However, the charter does require it if there is a financial interest or if there may be an appearance of impropriety.
Okay. So do we need to correct that vote?
It would be best if the council were to take up the matter again, as in reconsider the vote, and the item that was abstained from be pulled from the block. It voted on separately so that the abstention, if the council person still wants to abstain, can abstain, give their reason, and then the block can be voted on separately.
Okay. Did council understand that? But I think we may need to wait until
Charles gets back.
Councilman Hicks returns before we do that, so we can keep moving on through our agenda. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Council President. I apologize for the error.
We'd like to make sure we get things right. All right, so we'll move on to the mayor's portion.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that we approve the travel expense report of Mayor Kenson Cyber, who attended the Michigan Historic Preservation Network Conference in Kalamazoo, May 9 through 12, 2024.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Banks, supported by Councilwoman Hoag, to approve the travel expense report for Mayor Cyber as presented. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. That particular conference was really excellent. It included one of the top-ranking people in the Department of Interior, which administers historic tax credits, plus a number of other resources that we can use in the city of Southfield. Which leads me again into, we're offering for the first time since COVID, our mid-century modern architecture tour. During the 1950s and 60s, Southfield was one of Michigan's fastest growing cities. And with this surge of development came a great deal of finance into the city of Southfield, as well as top architects. Some of them are not names that might be familiar with you, but as I mentioned, Yamasaki, Gunnar Burkert, who did the IBM building, Haley Funeral Home, St. Bede Church, Louis Redstone, who very well-known in Michigan, and of course the St. John's Armenian Church, Polyphian, and as well as Goodman and Albert Kahn, the Sharazadic Synagogue. So this tour is about 2 hours and 45 minutes. It starts at Sharazadic and ends there. And it travels in a loop around the city with 6 stops, plus many buildings that we'll just talk about as we ride by. But we will go into a home that has never been remodeled from 1963. And it is a very high-end, I call it the groovy house. The decor has never, it is straight out of the 60s. And we're very fortunate that the homeowner allows 56 people on a Sunday afternoon to traipse through our house. But Empowerment Church, or was St. David's Synagogue, Ira Kaufman Funeral Home, Emmanuel Lutheran Church, and of course the Yamasaki Reynolds Aluminum Building are also featured, plus a number of other buildings by Bruce Bohr, Ted Rogba and Associates, Northland Theater, and so on. So the tickets are $40. Proceeds go to the Art Fund as well as Southfield Historical Society and the Detroit Area Art Deco Society. The tickets are available through the mayor's office or via Zelle or PayPal. And then our other event that's coming up Friday the 31st is a vintage fashion show that features clothing from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s that are on loan from Fantoni, a vintage clothing store in Berkeley. The models are members of the Southville High dance team. The kids are very, very excited to wear this clothing. I tell the story of, I wasn't sure how the models would, the teenagers would react to wearing clothing from yesteryear. And one of the girls came out of a dressing room and I said, "Oh my Lord, you are Jackie O." And she was wearing a pillbox and a suit very similar to the famous picture of Jackie the day that JFK was assassinated. And she looked at me and said, "Jackie O." She had no idea who I was talking about, although she did, when we explained to her that it was the wife of JFK, she knew President Kennedy. So anyhow, this event will be at the Skyline Club on the 28th floor of the 2000 Town Center building from 7 to 9 p.m. And it will feature vendors, 40 different outfits, plus a wine and cheese reception. Tickets are $50 and again can be acquired from the mayor's office or via Zelle or PayPal. It's going to be a fun evening, so we encourage you all to attend. Thank you.
Anything else?
That's it.
All right, thank you. Mr. City Administrator?
Thank you. This evening I have 3 items which I'm requesting action on. The first is the sale of a parcel on Indian Street, formerly known as 20960 Indian Street. The parcel is located to the west of Van Buren Street, east of Inkster, and just north of 8 Mile. We're proposing to sell the parcel to Kenneth Smith and Mr. Edwin Silva for $5,000. The parcel will require that the purchaser put up a cash bond in the amount of $24,688, which is the difference between the discounted price and the property's true cash value. And this was per City Council's resolution dated July 11th of 2022. The property will also be deed restricted as owner occupied unless released by the city. They're proposing to build a home within 18 months on the parcel.
Council, any questions on this item?
Mr. President?
Yes.
I move that we authorize the sale of the parcel on Indian Street to Mr. Kenneth Smith and Mr. Edwin Silva, for a cost of $5,000, and the proceeds from the sale will be recorded in the general fund.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Hoag, supported by Councilwoman Haynes, to approve the sale of real property on Indian Street, parcel 762431354011. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The second item I have is a request to amend our bid award with United Landscape of Livonia, Michigan. On March 25th, Council approved a contract with United Landscape of Livonia, Michigan in the amount of $296,064. We're proposing to increase that amount by an additional $47,300 for a revised amount to $343,364 for the year. This is to do some cleanup at the Berg site as well as the courtyard. As I had indicated to council at our last meeting, we were going to proceed with the cleanup as part of emergency work this past week. So I'm asking council to authorize an amendment in the amount of $47,300. That'll be charged to Parks and Rec contractual professional account 208-752.5101, 801.81880.
Council, do you have any questions? I need a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the bid for the landscape maintenance services.
Is there a second?
Support.
We have a motion by Councilman Haynes, supported by Councilman Hoag, to award the bid for landscaping maintenance services to amend the award that was given on March 25th. Any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you. My third item is to enter into an interlocal agreement with the City of Oak Park for the use of their aquatic facility, their pool. In 2022, council granted an approval for Parks and Recreation to negotiate with Oak Park to allow Southfield residents a rate entry fee into the aquatic facility for summer '22. We continue that partnership in '23, and we're asking to continue the partnership in 2024. The action authorizes the mayor and city clerk authority to sign the partnership agreement with the City of Oak Park to provide aquatic services to our residents. And that is at the residential rate. So we're buying down the guest rate so our residents can use that. And the Parks and Rec Department throws in a couple features. They do our summer camps will have access to the pool this year as well.
Okay?
Mr. President?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the authorization to enter into a local agreement with Oak Park for aquatic facility use.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilman Haynes, supported by Councilman Brightwell, to approve the authorization to enter an interlocal agreement with Oak Park for the aquatic facility use. Any questions, council? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
I just have a couple comments. At our last council meeting, there was some discussion about alternatives to identifying landscape, people who can work in landscape. I want council to know that we heard what you're saying and there's some discussion. If any of you have additional ideas about potential people, I've already had a dialogue with one individual who has expressed an interest in just, working a landscape crew, not full-time. But, so if some of you made reference that there might be more cost-effective ways of doing this, we're certainly open. It's very similar to what we do with our chore program, or as well as, and we're always looking for more contractors to work with us in our chore program. And a lot of the work that we've done with through our partnership with Habitat Through Humanity, allowing more entrepreneurial small businesses to get into that opportunity.
Councilor.
Yeah, I was just going to say, thank you for bringing that up. Even on the last resolution, last item, I hesitated just simply because the prices just seem so high to me that it has to be a better way, especially with new businesses coming up that may want to just do a better deal for us, and/or students in that field of work that maybe want to come. We might could get kind of creative with it and just maybe just talk about it. I don't know, but it seems a lot of money to be paying on these landscaping, and I even talked about it with my landscape guy. But just if we can talk about it in the future to see how we can save some money and special projects.
Absolutely, and there are still other areas we'd like to see this type of work done in. I mean, we're making decisions based on budget considerations. But if we could create an opportunity for someone to grow his or her business, as well as get a better price for us, we'd love to figure that out. And we will, and we do figure it out in what we do through our Section 3 requirements. And
Thank
you know, Section 3 are those set-aside requirements that in our HUD programs, where we're looking to create opportunities for businesses.
Councilwoman Haynes?
Yeah, maybe there's some way we can create an informal meeting where we can have some of those people of interest to gather and explain what we do and what the process is about. So, because some people still aren't aware that they can put in bids or how to put in bids or things like that, or may think that they can't get them because of the type of company that they are. So if something that we can have an informal to open to the public, business people in that area, in that field, would be great.
Absolutely. Mr. President, I have two other comments. Been invited to serve on the SEMCOG Economic Development Committee for a new regional plan. Pretty pleased. Other members of our team will be joining us as we go through that process. Last week I drove over to Lansing twice and attended a Building Michigan Communities. And I think some of the things we're doing, we're right on track. And in particular, the restoration of older buildings and that, what we have planned for John Gray School. I had a number of people asking me about it. It's definitely on the state's radar screen, and they're excited about Gardner Street and other projects. And we're looking at more of these vacant lots to figure out what we could do with them. Can we get more in-lot or more infill homes going up? And you know, how else can we make that happen? Thank you.
Mayor Sarver, you had a question?
Yeah, our next meeting is not until June 10th. And we have, I just want to alert you that we're going to have to alter the Juneteenth kickoff, which was supposed to start at 5:30 with the flag raising.
Right.
But we have the budget meeting at 5:30. So we're moving the kickoff of Juneteenth with the flag raising out front to 5 o'clock. And that evening, when we get into the regular meeting, we will have the resolution kicking off Juneteenth and all of the events from June 10th to the 22nd.
Okay.
But I just wanted to note that there's a slight change in the Juneteenth schedule because of the 5:30 budget hearing.
Yeah, we may need to put that out so some people can be aware of that, because I told some people.
I'm sorry?
I said we may need to put that out real soon, that we've moved it up.
Yeah, that's an amendment. I think it went in the Southfielder as 5:30.
Okay, we do have the flag, right?
Yeah, so, and also a reminder that we have the Crohn's and Colitis Walk on June 8th, and that's out front here through the Red Pole Park and back, and that starts at 10 o'clock on Saturday, June 8th.
Thank you. Madam Attorney, do you have anything?
Council President, thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Council President. Quickly, everybody knows it's an election year, and I hope that you all and the public is as excited as I am, because we're going to be busy. And so keep in mind that it's time to register for those folks who might not be aware of their registration status. They could call the clerk's office, 248-796-5150, or if you prefer to do things online, which a lot of people like to do, they can go into the Michigan Voter Information Center at mivic.sos state.michigan and find out about the status of their voter registration, or just call the office ask to speak to me or whoever will be happy to serve you and will give you information, especially if you've moved recently or you're 16 and you're prepared to register for the first time. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Deputy Planner?
Nothing at this time, sir.
Okay, we have nothing to schedule. Council, I want to revisit our consent agenda items. As our city attorney mentioned, in order to correct the motions, we need a motion to reconsider the vote because of the procedural error, and then we would vote on those items separately. It would be all the consent agenda items except the one that council member wanted to abstain from, and then we would vote on that one separately. So, yes.
Well, I don't know that there was any specific one stated, but I did pull up the charter and I was sharing it. So do we just do a reconsideration first and then pull out whichever one or ones?
So
that
She needs to re-explain.
the attorney wants to.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Yes, in order to reconsider the vote, we need a motion to reconsider that vote. Then, if it is adopted, then you would reconsider that vote by taking whatever item the council member wanted to abstain from. You move to take that one out of the block, vote on the block as a whole except for that item, and then have a separate vote on the one the council member wanted to abstain from.
Mr. President, I move that we consider the consent agenda item vote.
Support. Don't you have to give a reason?
Do we need a reason to reconsider?
Yeah, you,
Yes.
yes, you need to.
We'll say due to a procedural error.
Procedural. Yeah.
That's fine.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilwoman Hoag, supported by Councilwoman Haynes, to reconsider our consent agenda vote due to a procedural error. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilwoman Hoag, you made the original motion. Do you want to make the new motion for the consent agenda items?
So doesn't Councilman Hicks need to advise on which ones he wants to
Right.
pull? I
Yes.
don't know what he wants to pull.
Councilman
Which one do
Hicks.
you want to pull? Or two, or whatever?
Was he in the room
however
when she
many.
made the statement? She needs to make it again. The attorney.
So, Councilman Hicks, I know you briefly stepped out. Do you need the city attorney to explain what we're doing again?
I pulled up the charter and I
Okay.
showed him.
Let's proceed.
I
Okay.
showed him why.
It's item F.
Okay.
What item was that?
F.
F.
Oh, good.
So, I'm sorry, you guys discuss F first, right? Or-
There's no discussion
Okay.
unless,
I mean,
Okay.
I'll let you go, go ahead.
so you can make the motion on consent agenda items A through H except for F.
So
We'd vote on that item, and then we'll take a separate vote on F, and then if there's an abstention, there's an abstention, but there needs to be a.
Okay, I
a
thought
reason
before
behind
we
that.
always do the ones that are pulled first. I thought you were going to do it that way, so, okay,
That's usually if we do it in a group,
okay.
but because there's a different vote,
I
because
move,
we can't have, the other issue is you can't abstain from all the items unless unless there's a reason for every item. That's why we're going to pull that out separately.
okay. So then I move that we approve consent agenda items A, B, C, D, E, G, and H as described earlier.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Hoag, supported by Councilwoman Haynes, to approve consent agenda items A, B, C, D, E, G, and H. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that we approve consent agenda item F.
Support?
It has been moved by Councilwoman Hoag, supported by Councilwoman Haynes to approve consent agenda item F. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
One abstention. Thank you, and the reason for the abstention must be listed.
Sure. So per email that I sent to Council President, City Attorney Don King, as well as Pro Tem Banks, I indicated a few weeks ago that City Attorney and Council President lifted an inquiry to me based on an application that was submitted by the petitioner, where it named Charles Hicks as a reference. In full transparency, I went to high school with those gentlemen. In full transparency, there's a lot of people that come before this council that I know, that we all know. I have no financial interest in this endeavor. In a subsequent meeting, the petitioner mentioned that they have a relationship with a DJ Charles Hicks per a taxpayer's inquiry on entertainment, not council member Charles Hicks. Since a request for liquor license came before council, I chose to abstain. Is that sufficient?
That works.
Okay, thank you.
We just wanted to, yeah, we didn't want to have an appearance of it. Yeah, we didn't want to have an appearance of impropriety,
So
that's
it's
all.
two different people?
It's two different people.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else to come before the council? We voted on it. All right, seeing nothing else, the meeting is adjourned.